Today, on behalf of the North American Millets Alliance, we have Leon Kriesel from Kriesel Certified Seed in Gurley, Nebraska with us, and he's got some exciting things to talk about for not only his operation, but specifically proso millet for food uses. So, Leon, you want to give a little background on your operation and tell us a little bit about how you got started, and we'll move into the discussion.
Okay. Uh, the first slide is just pictures of some of the millet and one of the finished products that we are, our millet actually is in. And, but we're a third generation small grain seed facility. We actually started at this location in 1945, although my grandfather in eastern Nebraska was doing certification on small grains starting about 1925, 1927. And basically, the emphasis at that time was he wanted nice, clean seed. So he started it, and then he did enough to sell some to his neighbors, and it has grown. And when my folks moved to our present location in the middle 30s, that came along with it. We've always been doing some of that stuff, and we just kept growing. And by the time I graduated out of college, basically 100% of our acres were positioned towards seed production. And so we were going in that way. So our goal there, sell a quality product at a fair price. So we try to do a good job of processing and to get the customer what they want. And through the years, you know, it's been based on certified seed business, but there's always been other options that come up every once in a while. And we've worked with the University of Nebraska at looking some of these new options. And you just have to kind of be ready, wait around, know what's going on, and you can do. Generally, you can pick one that may work for you. So in 1995, we built the new mill. And previous to that, we were cleaning in the corner of another building. And previous to that, we were processing outside. So, and we started basically with an old Calkins 91 and did a decent job. And we moved in and got a better cleaner. It was a Clipper Super 67D, and then added gravity table, length graders, and in the new plant, we have that stuff, and we've already updated equipment in the new plant once for capacity and for doing a higher quality job. And so we are set up so that we can package in small bags, 25 kg or 50 pounds. We use the totes, and we can do bulk, and we have picked up markets. Basically South America, France, even into Great Britain and in Southeast Asia. So basically millet. It started in this area in the late 1960s, and it was at that time primarily a birdseed market. And so the farmers got that as another crop to break up the rotations, and it fit in our area pretty good. We're in a semi-arid region, so its characteristics were good. The food grade came in much later, and basically, I think in most of the markets that where it is a food grade product, it's a protein extender. Use it as a cereal, and in the Asian markets, it's for sticky sweets. And the sticky sweets came up with the waxy millets, and the breeder at that time focused on this. He had some contacts with some Japanese companies and developed a waxy millet. And so we partnered and we did increases. I did the increases for the University of Nebraska. And we had these, so to speak, sitting on the shelf for about 15 years, and just nothing came out of it. And I'm not exactly sure if I can remember that the company we were working with went away, because at that time they had a office in Denver, Colorado, and I don't think that is there anymore. And basically most of it is the West Coast is where some of those people do have offices. Um, then we did get a referral from possibly our website or by our seed association. And so we went ahead, ramped up, did an increase, sent a sample, and we had a company from Japan come and visit, and that took off. And we also now ship regularly into Taiwan and South Korea on this, on the Waxy side. And so the new plant gave us more higher quality, and we had experience with overseas because we need phytosanitaries labeling, shipping in kilos instead of pounds, and in some countries such as Japan, extreme pickiness. Um, they treat food a lot different than we do in the States because they've been hungry, and so they know what they're looking for. And we always look at what we have available and how can we capitalize on that and make something that might work. And we're always trying to connect with buyers through different ways, through our website. Uh, we applied for a value added grant, did not get that at that time. And a lot of it is just being ready, and something might walk up, knock on your door, and that can work pretty good. And so the university land grant system, with the millet breeders we worked with two so far, actually three, and worked long-term test plots, did some increases for them, looked at different products, and then we also went to and participated in some of the international conferences, the International Broomcorn Association and the Year of the Millet meetings they had. And so we tried to do that, so that we know how to do it, but you still have to know what your customer wants and get that back to them. And so we do a lot of training for our employees, and it takes money to do that stuff, and sometimes money is always short in agriculture, and you can always have a what if mindset. Maybe this will come around, and I know there's a market there. Let's look into that one, and I think that's with our next project. We're installing dehullers, and so we're looking at that because that one we know there's a demand for, and we also already have requests for product, and so we're going to go that way. Um, in the food, then that would be into the food side, because if they buy generally proso millet, if a foreign entity that is going into the food market buys proso millet from the States, it's probably in the whole grain state. They get it, they have to dehull it, and then they have to put it into their product line. And so by having some dehulled, that might help bring more business our way. But our family's been doing this for just under 100 years, so we hope we kind of know what we're doing. And here in western Nebraska, proso millet is a big crop, and we hope that it'll outgrow what we can do, and maybe there can be something for all millet growers to share. So that's basically our story. And anybody has any other questions that we don't touch or anything like that, you can contact us on the .com site, and we do have a website. So hopefully there'll be information available.
Yes, I see your website is listed down below, so you may want to just keep this slide up for a moment so everybody has access to it, and can write down your website name. Fantastic summary. I was in the seed conditioning business for a while and handled certified and registered millet seed, proso seed. So I appreciate the background. And as you described, the quality of seed you plant is primary to whatever you want to produce. And in order to go into the food market like you described, you have to have that quality conditioning, what we in the business call seed conditioning, so that you come out with a pure product. And so let's just touch on the your hulling operation. So you've been selling Plateau, I assume, is your primary food grade millet. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and which of course is what you call the waxy sweet. And so you've been selling that as a whole seed in primarily bulk, but also in totes and 50-pound bags or 25-kilo bags.
Yes, and that primary market for that is Southeast Asia. In the States, it's a unique marketing. You think it's there, you know it's there, but it's hard to find. We always thought that the organic side would pick up on it, and that's another animal. They, I don't know why, but maybe they like to stay closer for originating site. But I think if people try it, millet in itself, in its food product form, has no taste. It's like oatmeal. It's the taste is what you put on it, but it's high in protein. And in the Southeast Asian market, what they're trying to do is raise the protein of rice, and so they sprinkle it, they mix it, they make hot dishes with it, and so that's what they use it for. So it's pretty good. It's the gluten on it is almost zero, so it qualifies to be gluten free, and so that's another market to look at. To bake proso millet into bread, you have to watch, because if you take non-waxy proso millet and bake it 100% millet flour, you probably get a brick. So the waxy millet is better. You can have a little bit of raise in there and it looks a lot better. But we always encourage people, if you're going to try it, mix it with wheat flour first, so you know what's going to happen. You don't want a surprise.
Absolutely. And one of the keys on behalf of the North American Millets Alliance, we want to direct people to businesses like yours. And that's why I really appreciate you joining us on this webinar. And one of the things that it was indirectly said, and that is you have a specific variety of millet, a waxy millet, and you direct it, you produce it, and you sell it for a specific market. And it's that consistency that has been frustrating in the U.S. millet business, I believe, because there are millets that are hauled and sent out as if it's for food, but the next load they get, it may be a completely different millet. It may be not conditioned as well, and so there's that inconsistency. So give us a little background on how you make it consistent and how you go from production to neighboring farmers producing seed into a final product.
Okay, so in our situation, 100% of the millet we run through our mill is what we raise. And that's been based on the seed business. So when we start doing more of the waxy food business, we have the same process. The fields generally are inspected by a certified inspector, and that is looking for things that would be off types, weeds, things that you may not want. Then generally after harvest, the bin into the mill, the basic processing process is the same as for seed: air screen cleaner and a gravity table. We've added a color sorter, and that gives us more uniformity. And that's a uniformity thing that sometimes is, I kind of wanted to use the word tricky, but it's different. Proso millet comes in many colors. In fact, you can get any color of the rainbow if you want.
That's
But
absolutely
generally,
right. Yeah.
but generally, the germ is going to be a pale yellow color, no matter what the outside is. And but you can make it so it's pure. And we were looking, and in our area there were weeds coming in, wild buckwheat, dark triangular shaped seeds, hard to get out with a mechanical separation. So the color sorter will take it out. Small clods of dirt that can get through the mechanical separation, the color sorter will take it out. And so we try to get that process to where, to say it's 100% pure is a goal. Whether that is totally achievable, every once in a while I've had a test that comes back that way, but you can't guarantee that. And so, but then after we do that, we um, put it in the form, bag, container, bulk, whatever the customer wants, and go from there. Of course, in that process, you have to get your phytosanitaries and whatever paperwork that the end user would want. And most of the end user entities we do business with actually aren't that tough or hard to do. You just need to know what they want, and you can get the paperwork and get it all set up and get it shipped out. It's just knowing what they want and packaging it in that way so that they can handle it at their end.
Okay, thank you, Leon. Once you
Gary,
move
could I
from sharing screen to just an open Zoom screen, just pull that off. And
could I put a quick question in here, Gary? Sorry to
yeah,
interrupt.
Don, go
Yeah,
ahead,
yeah,
please.
as you're going. Yeah, so if I understand correctly, what you grow, you process on premises all that you grow in terms of proso millet, and then you what you process is only what you grow, or do you process for other people as well?
Okay, we do not process for other people, so it's only ours.
Okay.
And we're set up that our capacity is there. Um, a lot of the, since we're somewhat based on the seed side, most of them want their seed ready in the spring. If you're going to Europe with seed, they want it there by the end of February, early March. And so that the timing can be different there. If you
Okay.
do things like winter wheat, that's in the fall, and then you would switch over to proso and go that way.
So, so how
Would
much
you
of your
suggest?
operation,
Oh,
sorry,
please.
Gary, just one
No,
quick more,
please.
is on seed and how much is in product for food market or possibly feed market?
Okay, in the proso millet, right now, it would probably be close to a 40-60 split, 60% food, 40% seed.
Okay.
Has
And
that
so
changed in the last 5 years?
it has varied a little bit. Um, and as in last year, the food side was down a little bit. And now this year, it's up a little bit. Uh, the seed side, um, again, this year is up a little bit, but it's the seed side is more consistent. In the world, there's basically kind of only so many acres that are going to be planted to millets, and they go that way. Uh, Price can make a difference to the producer. Uh, they might try to increase acres if the price is better, but a lot of them have the rotation set, and they don't want to change much.
Well, as you transition into more of the, or have the capacity to hull, and I assume you will have a series of millet hullers that that volume would likely increase as far as a percent of your total business if you, in fact, target that with your extra capacity.
It should. Some of the current customers would like it also, but I think looking at some of our contacts in the United States, there is a market for hulled millet within the states because basically there are very few, maybe two dehullers in the United States, maybe three, and it's just hard to get. If a company wants something, they'll call and say, "Do you have this product?" And most places will say no, and we don't know where you can get it. And so we're just trying to work into that. And I think with our contacts, with what we've been doing, some of these places know what we can do, and so they like the quality. And I think that will be an upstart, and it should increase to a degree.
Yes, good. Back in 1990, 91, I had a seed cleaning plant and I put in a couple of hullers, forest fruit hullers. And there are a few of those scattered around, but as you mentioned, not consistently, obviously going after the food market. But on your website, you list a lot of different millets. And those millets include foxtail and pearl and some of the other millets. But the point I want to get at, do you haul for food any of the foxtail millets that are uh, like Snow Fox or whatever that are developed, or the one out of I guess Canada has some foxtail millets that originated out of China for food. Tell us a little bit about those kinds of millets for food.
Okay, in the foxtail millet market, our market for foxtail millet is forages, so we don't do that. I don't know, in time maybe I'll look at that, but I just don't know. Talking to some of my contacts, that isn't a real big market, and so you have to be careful, uh, because you don't want to commit and then have something sitting and it isn't moving quick enough. And yeah, any grain product can have problems if it sits too long.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a very uh, interesting outlet in that you produce seed that could also be transferred, and you do transfer it into the food chain. And what we've occasionally run across in the North American Millets Alliance is outlets that want some trial, say a ton or whatever of uh, a various millet, say it's a foxtail millet, because they don't want to commit to truckloads or a truckload because they don't know what kind of consistency they would get. And so, would your system be able to process something like that for some markets that millers or users that want to, or processors that want to expand their business on a trial basis?
I would say it's possible. Uh, we've looked at a lot of different things, and I like to see more of the big picture. Sometimes you get a request for, uh, more than 50 pounds, maybe 1,000 pounds, but you kind of can see when you look at the company, uh, they probably uh, won't uh, continue in that vein. They're just looking at something. They want to get a
Yeah.
test out there,
Yep.
and that's tough. We do a lot of R&D for companies that are just wanting to do something, and most of those contacts come through the University of Nebraska. Different companies around the world. We've shipped seed, to Italy and into Europe quite a bit, South America, and in smaller samples, so they can mostly use it in their end. Um, because if it's in another continent, it's probably better when they're starting if they take the whole product and then try to process it there, because there's a lot of things that can go into that. Uh, Even your climate, a humid climate or a dry climate can make a difference in how it processes.
Especially after you take the hull off. Absolutely. As a astute business person, you just can't take everybody that comes along and thinks that they may want to get into trying a little food, and then you end up spending a lot of time on projects that will eventually not be fruitful. So yeah, you always have to be aware of that. I did notice also on your website that you have an interesting grain, pearl millet. Now, uh, pearl millet is the world's biggest food millet, and of course, it has a bran or a hull similar to wheat. It doesn't hull easily. But have you produced the hybrid pearl millet, or do you source that out? And is it used or sold for grain and processed through your facility?
Basically, the hybrid pearl millet is a forage, and we source that. Uh, I have raised a hybrid pearl millet. It was 686. It was an experimental out of Nebraska. It was short. It was only 30 inches tall, and
Oh,
most of the
very
hybrid
short.
millets, yeah,
Very
are very
short. Yes.
tall. It looked very well, but I think in the United States the pearl market was forage, and so being short, even though it had good grain, it didn't have enough biomass for forage, and so it wasn't very popular. But That's, as I always like to think of it, anything's possible. You just got to think it through.
Well, one of the concerns with those in the market, in U.S. market specifically, there's a lot of ethnic markets around the U.S. and they look for various millets, and Don can testify to that because he's tried a lot of them. But the sourcing of pearl is inconsistent because they're developed for forage, just the opposite of what that millet you described. And so I see it listed, I think it's under your website under wildlife uses, which would make sense. If it's shorter, it would have more likely that game birds and stuff would be able to eat the seed.
Yeah, and its growth pattern, when you go into the wildlife planning market, you need something that provides cover and then also provides food. Those are the two things, and maybe an escape route. And when we experimented with that hybrid pearl was some of the best wild pheasant areas that you could see, very similar to sorghum or milo. Sorghum and milo are probably the number one, I guess, habitat for a pheasant. They love it because it's got good cover. Generally, it's in rows, so they have an escape route, and then it has food that stands winter. There can be a foot of snow, and they can stand on it and peck the seeds.
Which obviously pearl millet, as you described, would do that and provide. Would you recommend it being planted in like 7.5 inch or 10-inch rows versus 30-inch row?
I think the decision there would be on your water availability. If it's under a pivot, you could plant it in narrow rows. If it's dry land, you probably have to spread it out. And if I remember when the university did that, they were probably planting it in 30-inch rows.
Okay. What opportunities do you...
If I could, Jerry.
Yes, Don, please.
On you mentioned the ethnic markets and so on. We have been contacted occasionally by people who are interested in getting proso millet for Indian American market.
Proso or pearl?
Pearl millet, because I guess it's easily imported from India, but sometimes there have been quality consistency issues, and also the grains have to be treated for longevity prior to arriving. And I guess in their markets, at least in California, from one person that contacted us, there was a concern among consumers about the freshness of the grains. So I don't know if there's a market. It would be very small and specialized and maybe unsteady for investment, but there does seem to be an interest in pearl millet in those cases. And actually, there is a farm out in southern Maryland growing small quantities of pearl millet. A lot of that's going to a bakery in Washington, D.C., but it's really, and apparently in Canada, there's some farmers, but we don't have any details. That's a whole different story. But yeah, it could be an interesting growth market long term, but it's indeed very specialized at this point. Oh, I wanted to also come back to one other point, if I could, much earlier. For the audience, for people who aren't familiar with what makes sticky millet or grain as opposed to standard grain, it's really a protein, I guess amylose. If the amylose content is less, then it has that sticky feature that is often appreciated, especially in some Asian cuisines. And if you've heard of sticky rice, my understanding is that's basically the same factor in the grains as in sticky millets. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out on the screen before we go too far.
A comparison to notice to give a good demonstration of a sticky millet is to put it in a cup after it's parboiled, turn it upside down, pull the cup off, and put regular millet beside it. And the sticky millet will hold that cup's shape for quite a while. The other one will start to crumble. And that's just that amylose, that chemical reaction. It's making it sticky, so it stays stuck together.
That's we have some very interesting sidebar conversations that we could go on, but as we progress through this and move towards finalizing it, pearl millet, I just want to finish up on that, is the markets in Canada Don brought up were for rotating pearl millet before soybeans, tobacco, sugar, or no, potatoes, because of the nematode control they get out of the pearl millet. So as soybeans and dry beans have moved west, and of course you're in a dry bean area, do you have much this nematode, and do you see a potential benefit for planting pearl like they do in other markets in Canada prior controlling nematode prior to a bean crop?
For the bean crop, it's probably not a big issue. I think the
Okay.
ground, it's the most of the beans are grown on a lighter soil, and so the ground probably is too dry for the nematodes to really take effect. The area that they do watch it is for sugar beets, and there might be the most common use might be fumigation before they plant the beets.
Okay.
Uh, and
The
so
first,
if they come up with that crop, um, it might be such a thing that the two physical functions. If I have this crop, how do I take it off? How do I get the enough residue gone so I can plant the next crop without having a problem in the physical aspect of working it?
okay. All right. I noticed actually that I was in and following some of the first soybean cyst nematode in South Dakota, and it happened to be on irrigated sand. And the sands got so thin you could walk between drilled fields and not touch a soybean plant. And we discovered that it was extremely heavily infested with soybean cyst nematode. So that market is primarily east of you, but I
Yes.
do see it as a potential market. Let's just break here and go into what do you see the future of your business and the millet business in general going? What varieties? What I see you have two new certified varieties of proso that are available this coming year, I assume. And where do you see this whole millet industry going?
Well, I think millet has been around, and basically it was generally considered a catch crop. A lot of them, if you get hailed out on wheat before the 1st of July, you could plant millet and maybe get a crop. Um, for the pure birdseed market, which is the number one market available right now, it is um, somewhat unelastic because there's only so many people who feed birds. And what you need to feed birds is a nice winter in the east. And you need a good economy so people have money to buy bird food. Um, so the bird food market right now has probably slowed down quite a bit. And I think that reflects in our market price at the elevator for birdseed. I think there's potential for growth. Um, we just have to see because millet is an easy crop to raise, it doesn't cost a lot of money. Uh, the chemicals that if you want to use for weed control are in a different venue than you would for corn, wheat, some of those. So it helps for weed control. Uh, it's an easy crop to use in a no-till situation because you don't have to work the ground much to get it planted and harvest it. Um, and I think we're coming up with the new varieties that the current breeder at the UNL has given us. The one that's released last year was Terra, and that's the number one yield producer in all the tests. Um, so I think we've got more things coming on. The other one is Tulsi, which is probably number two, and there's actually up to three more that'll probably be coming out in the next 2 years. Um, so we have the capability to have good production, and those millets are fit one niche in proso millet. They're a little taller and a little later, and so that a lot of people like millet straw for animal use. So that's a good thing there. Um, there was one other company that got into the millet market trying to do some breeding, and I worked with them. They did a fairly good job, but they're having trouble right now. It's just something, I don't know what it was, but something that just isn't working the way they thought it would. But
All right. For uh, You sell certified seed, you sell registered seed, and obviously seed to different growers. What would you recommend in Western Nebraska specifically, maybe Northeast Colorado, but across the Great Plains? What would you recommend as a rotation to add proso millet to their rotation?
Okay, you can add it in any rotation. Millet uses basically the first 2 foot of water profile, so it's pretty good. Most of the rotations, millet would be planted into wheat stubble, and so a lot of farmers would have grow a crop of wheat, grow a crop of proso millet, and then maybe go back to wheat or go to corn. Sorghum can also work in that area, and a lot of it is to try to get less uh, less ground with no crop on it. I don't know that we can go 100% that way yet. I've tried that, and I think we're in an area where we get about 17 inches of rain. You go into Colorado, it's less, and it works pretty good for 2 3 years, and then I think you start to run into a moisture deficit. But those rotations, specialty crops, um, there's dry peas are being tried, garbanzos, sunflowers, and I think you just have to look and to see where can I put in. And millet is, we always call it a 60-day crop. It takes a few more days, but 60 days from planting to physiological maturity. And so it's short season, low water use, and generally it's an easy market because you can just haul it to your local elevator. And I think those are the things you have to look at. If you try to put in a specialty pea, you may have to haul it for 300 miles. Garbanzos, food market, yeah, you have to have quality. Uh, but those are the rotations. Mostly it's a 3 crop rotation, and the fourth part of that rotation might be a fallow period.
Okay. Which brings up a topic. There is acreages of proso in Kansas, but as you move to even say Wichita, Kansas, where they uh, pull off their wheat in June, do you see it as a potential coming with a short season proso as a second crop in that wheat proso market to try to get 2 crops harvested in that year?
It may work, and they generally should have moisture to do it. Their market is going to be their factor, because when you get down in that area, they're probably looking at more at forage for cattle, and so they might go to Milo.
That's yeah, Milo would be obviously the grain, and
Yeah.
there's obviously soybeans, double crop
Mhm.
soybeans primarily,
Coming in.
but this would give them another grass crop that
Yeah.
they could bring into the rotation.
And you'd have to have an elevator and entity that want to handle it,
Right.
because that is one of the things. If you're not in an area where um, you have quick access, good access to a ready market, that can hinder you. Here we have a Pennington plant at Sidney, Nebraska, and so that takes up some of the millet, but a lot of the other millet does get shipped different places where it's processed for bird fruit again. Um, if we could get a ethanol plant to run on it, it work. That'd be another good way to use it. But the ethanol plants, they like corn, even though
They
millet is as
do.
good.
I know of some ethanol plants that'll take millet and sorghum, usually 2 loads of corn and then a load of millet or sorghum in their processing. And again,
Mm.
it depends on the price and the quality and the
Yeah,
location, access to it, things like that. And so same way with feed. I mean, you can grind it for cattle feed as you can do Milo or something else. But anything
There's
else
some
that you
talk,
want to
Gary.
bring up?
There's some talk. Sorry, there's some talk about proso for chicken feed.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, please address that.
and I don't know if that's come
Chicken
onto the
feed, dog
radar.
feed. What's your experience there, Leon?
we're not an area where there's any poultry. If you go towards southeast Nebraska into Missouri, there's turkeys, and I think they could use it. They probably don't there because of accessibility. They have other things that are closer to them. Um, but it would be okay because all birds like millet and it's high in protein form. So I think it would be a fast grower. Because I don't know, I was trying to think of the closest poultry places here way in the east. And I know if you go down south into Missouri, Georgia, Louisiana, that's just basically too hot for millet, and they wouldn't have access to it. But it's a good feed form, and I think there was even some studies the university was doing on catfish, and so it's there's some uses for it, and I think again it is mostly price driven and availability driven.
Well, the one market, and maybe Don was referring to that, there's several suppliers out there that sell 50-pound bags or smaller to homegrown poultry. You got 4 or 5, 10 chickens in your backyard, and depending on city and county regulations, that is a good market for some companies in smaller quantities, or we think smaller quantities, rather than having 10,000 laying hens out there.
Yeah.
But that's another specific market, as well as proso into dog food and some other things.
Right.
Yeah,
I wasn't actually talking about the large markets, but yeah, the smaller ones are good too. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's something that could be stepped in, and somebody has to, I don't know, you always talk about that someone has to promote something, and that takes some time and some presence, that equates to money. But there's a lot of things that in the pet food market that they've tried here in the valley. They tried chicory, and they had dog food contracts for that one. But there's a lot of things because of its nature. I think proso is readily available in the area, readily digestible by animals. And I know in the human side, a lot of people will take it whole, and you can parboil it and make a cereal out of it. Well, nobody likes the hulls in their teeth, and so that's why we dehull it. But so there are some things and small issues. A lot of times, a company that's making a product looks and say, "Yes, we could substitute, but we're set up this way, and that's what we're used to." And so there has to be that initiative for them to do it. And sometimes that's easy, sometimes it's not.
Well, there are distillers out there, maltsters, that use millet for millet beers and whiskey or whatever. Are you into that market at all, or supply that market at all?
No, and they're the closest one we've got. There's one over here by Pines Bluff, Wyoming, and he's into I think it's mostly whiskey, and they're going barley is what they're
Okay.
going.
Okay.
And
There's,
so
I think
because
the whole thing, Leon, there is just so many different angles that these millets can take, and we've covered a bunch of them. So I would like you to kind of summarize your business and tell the audience what to look forward to.
Okay, well, yeah, Kriesel Certified Seed hopes to be around for a long time, providing their customers in both the seed and food market with a good product, trying to keep up with the new varieties. And we might get some specialty varieties more, and we can put those into places. I think for the person who wants to raise some proso millet, first for a farmer, look at the rotations, look at the cost. It's an easy crop to raise, and readily you have a market for it. For the person who wants to use it in their own diet or for pets, it works. There's some nuances to it. If you have cattle and you have cows that you're going to want to have produce the animals for you, you probably don't want to feed them millet in the last part of their gestation. Might clean them out. But so there's just different things to look. But we would encourage people to call, ask questions. We ourselves would try to answer any question best we can, or point them to where the answers are.
Thank you very much. We appreciate this, your time, and certainly gave us an in-depth look at the millet production millet conditioning, millet availability for food and potential outlets. And thank you for also the crop rotation suggestions for those looking at maybe bringing in another crop into their rotation. So thank you very much, Leon. And please greet your staff and wife for allowing us to take your time away from business for the North American, on behalf of the North American Millets Alliance.
Okay, thank you.